All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. My name is Lizzie Hunter. I am South Miami Senior High's lead magnet teacher. And tonight we're offering you a virtual magnet audition workshop. Our hope is to provide you with a little bit of insight and guidance on how to prepare for your audition. At the end, this session will serve as an overview so you know what to expect during your audition. And you are encouraged to take notes, although we are recording the session so that you can review this as you like and ask questions as you need. Feel free to post your questions in the chat. We'll come back to those and answer them toward the end of the presentation. Okay, are we ready? I'm ready. Okay, so the first thing I actually wanted to share with you guys tonight is how to apply. I strongly suspect the majority of the people on here tonight have already applied, and that's why you're here, because you got my email because you already applied. But just in case, the magnet application is open till January 15th, and that's kind of creeping up soon. So if you have not yet submitted your Dade County Public Schools magnet application, you're going to want to do that very soon. Now, you are allowed to select up to 5 schools, and you're always encouraged to do that so that you can have your options open. But do know that the schools basically fall under one of 2 categories. The school's either a lottery school, which means you select the program and then you keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully in March you'll hear some good news. And then there's the one that we fall under, which is a visual performing arts magnet. And so for our program, you have to audition, and that's why we're hosting this workshop for you to help you prepare, okay? So in order to apply, you are encouraged to complete the online application, which can be accessed through a few different websites. yourchoicemiami.org is one of those links that you can go to, and you can complete the magnet application through there. If you are a current Dade County Public School student, the majority of your information will be pre-populated into that for you. So you just have to kind of review it, make sure it's accurate, and select the additional details of schools you'd like to apply to. There is a paper application available. You can definitely apply by mail, filling out that paper application, but there's always a bit of a lag just because it has to arrive at a certain office in downtown and someone has to sit down and type in your information. So if you did a paper application, that's fine. But if you haven't applied yet, online is definitely the preferred method to complete your magnet application. Okay, so South Miami Senior High, we're looking for those driven students who seek to immerse themselves in the arts. They're going to be taught by passionate professionals, highly qualified individuals in their fields. Most of us walk the walk, so to speak, so we do the things that we teach in a professional capacity. And the great thing about our school is that they can build those strong, lasting friendships throughout their time here. And they get that traditional high school experience together with the magnet program experience, that smaller, tight-knit community that we have. Okay, and I just wanted to show you some faces that you might start to recognize if you've been to a few of our events so far. These are some of our faculty members. We have a few of them logged in tonight that are going to give you some advice about your specific auditions. So on screen here, we have Mr. Lopez in the top center. He's logged in with us today. He's our graphic design and illustration and photography magnet teacher. And then we also have Mr. Diaz, who will be sharing some information about the Multimedia Broadcasting Audition program. Now, the last step in the application process is to select your audition date. So if you don't know what day your audition is, you're going to want to log back into your magnet application and see which date is on there. Because if you selected a date, you probably wrote it down, and that's great. But if you don't remember choosing a date, I probably chose it for you. So you're going to want to log back into your magnet application and figure out when exactly is my audition. Some of them are virtual, some of them are in person. We wanted to make sure to give people the option and the opportunity to kind of pick the format that best fit their circumstances. So just make sure you take a look at your date. And then I'm going to show you on the next slide here how to figure out which ones are what. So if your audition is taking place on January 21st, regardless of which program you selected, every single audition on January 21st will be virtual. This will be a Zoom audition, and we'll send you links and information and details on how to submit and how to access your audition, as those dates near. If you are auditioning for either orchestra or band and you have a 4 or 4:30 appointment on February 8th or February 23rd, those are also virtual auditions. Every other combination of dates and program, those will be in-person auditions. So Saturday, January 8th, we have the majority of our programs auditioning in person at our school site. February 8th is our orchestra and band auditions in the school as well. So after that 4:30 virtual audition, the rest of them for the evening will be on site. Saturday, February 12th, again, the majority of our programs auditioning on site. And then again, the 23rd of February for band and orchestra as well. So just to give you a sense, so the parents know how long to expect, if you're auditioning for any of the visual arts strands, those take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete. Every other strand, so band, orchestra, broadcast, those take about 30 minutes to complete, just so that you know what to expect. Sometimes what takes the longest in the visual arts groupings, the fine art, graphic design and illustration and photography, is getting through all of the interviews for the large groups of kids. So some kids might start finishing a little bit sooner than others, just because, as we finish their interviews, we let them go. Okay, so obviously I'm going to give you more details about that as we move on to the slides. So I am going to be sharing with you what exactly you have to do as part of your audition for each of the programs. On our school website, you will be able to find all of the information that I'm going to be sharing tonight. So I wanted to show you where to find it before I dive into those details. Our school website, southmiamiseniorhigh.org. This is what the homepage looks like. And in the top center of that brown strip, you'll see the word Magnet Programs. So very simple, you're just going to click on Magnet Programs, and that will take you to a page that looks like this. And on the left there is a little tab that says Audition Information. That's where you're going to find everything I'm about to show you, all of the details, the same exact text that I'm going to show you here. So again, if you wanted to go back and look at it in more detail, that's where you'll find that. All right, so I'm going to start by talking about the band audition. This is kind of the most complicated one, just because there are so many instruments and the details kind of vary depending on what you play and what you'll need to perform for your audition. So this audition has 6 components. The first is the same for everyone. It's basically an educational or musical resume document showing just some information about the student's previous musical experience. Okay, and again, these details can be looked at more carefully on the website. The second component is the performance of scales. The 6 major scales, the all-state scales and arpeggios, you have them listed there. And then perform a chromatic scale demonstrating your instrument's range. You can choose your lowest and highest notes and do the range to the best of your ability. And as you'll see there, jazz guitar, jazz bass, and jazz drum are exempt from the 6 major scales and the chromatic scale. The third component is to perform a solo repertoire. So you'll see here, again, it breaks it down by the instruments that you play. Woodwinds and brass, a solo piece of your choice. Percussion can perform one piece of your choice, and I have that in orange because the next slide breaks down all of the percussion instruments. Classical piano does fall under band, so if you are a pianist and you're auditioning on that instrument, you would fall under band because you are technically a percussion instrument. The pianist will be performing 2 contrasting pieces. Jazz guitar and jazz piano perform 1 jazz standard. The rhythm section candidates should play the melody the first time through the chart, and then perform it a second time, comping chords and playing backgrounds, just so that we can see some comparison there. And then if you play jazz bass, performing excerpts from 2 jazz standards, bass candidates should demonstrate an ability to walk a standard bass line in a swing style and demonstrate proficiency in an additional style. little note about percussionists. Percussionists who can demonstrate 2 different percussion instrument solos will be given extra consideration and points, just because you're a little more versatile, and that definitely serves the band well. Available instruments to perform for percussion: snare drum, mallets, timpani, or drum set. If you play the drum set instead of a solo, drum set candidates must demonstrate 8 measures of each style with fills. So you need to be able to show that you can play swing, Latin, and rock or contemporary. And then, of course, as I said earlier, if you're a pianist, you're technically a percussion instrument. And then the last 3 components, you'll be given a sight reading exercise. If you come in person, you'll be handed the sheet music. If you're auditioning virtually, the sheet music will be presented on the screen for you. So Mrs. Jimenez and Mr. Dye, the orchestra director, both had some really helpful advice if you're auditioning virtually, to make sure that you're auditioning on a screen that's big enough for you to be able to see the music on screen. If you're trying to read that on a little phone screen, just kind of becomes unreadable, really. And then number 5, there's going to be an interview, as with all of our other magnet strands. And then the 6th component for the band audition is a music theory written test, just to see where you're at as far as your understanding of music theory. Okay, so again, Mrs. Jimenez and Mr. Dye just wanted us to say that they do prefer auditions in person, if at all possible. So if you are scheduled for a virtual audition and you're able to come in person, we're happy to reschedule that for you. But again, if you are auditioning virtually, just make sure that you're on an actual computer so that you're able to see the music that they're going to present for the sight reading exercises. On screen here, you'll see the contact information for Mrs. Jimenez. So if you would like to reach out with specific questions, she's happy to answer those via email. And again, if you have any questions now that I can try to answer for you, you can just drop them in the chat and I'll circle back to those. Okay, the orchestra audition is a little bit more streamlined just because they're all string instruments. So if you selected orchestra on your magnet application, it's because you play chamber music, one of the string instruments, violin, cello, upright bass, and so on. So these students, the first component is performance of 2 scales with an arpeggio of your choice. 2 octaves are more preferred. The second component, performance of 2 contrasting pieces of your choice. Select 2 pieces that highlight your best performance abilities. Then those students will also have a sight reading exercise and an interview about the student's musical background, musical goals, and interests. Same advice that Mrs. Jimenez gave goes for orchestra. And on screen here, you have Mr. Brandon Dye's contact information. He would be the person to contact if you have orchestra-specific audition questions. Okay, multimedia broadcast. So there are basically 2 components here. What we're calling the performance part of the audition has 2 parts. The students are going to be asked to read a news story provided by the audition assessor. So basically how, that reading skill and how they present themselves as they read. And the second is they'll be completing a writing assignment during their scheduled audition. And then those will be followed up with an interview with the Magnet faculty member, who will interview the applicant to ask about their interests and any relevant experience they might have. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Diaz to give you guys some helpful tips and advice for the multimedia broadcast students who are going to be auditioning. Mr. Diaz?
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for coming. Basically, I want to talk a little bit about, we have the interview process. In the interview process, the students, we're looking for delivery, communication with the person that's interviewing them, presentation. Those are the things that a lot of times, same kind of things that you look for in an interview for a job applicant, for example. We see how they comport themselves and they explain themselves. So tell them to please be to elaborate on certain areas when they're asked a question, not to just answer yes or no, to try to elaborate on it. A question may be something like, if you were the only person that we could get, if we were only able to get one person into the program, why would it be you? And the person would elaborate on that. And those are the things that we're looking for. So they have to elaborate. I would say that, if they come in and they don't speak and they don't say much, they just answer yes or no, that's going to be a little bit more difficult to be able to judge that. So I ask you that you speak, that you elaborate. If we ask you what are some of your hobbies and what are you doing in a pastime, tell us a little bit about that, things that you like to do. Maybe even things like what is their future career entails. It doesn't mean that they have to have communications or broadcasting multimedia in their future. That may not be something that they want to do. They just want to do that now, just to try it out and see how it goes. That's fine, but to tell us a little bit about why they want to do it, and or maybe what are some of the journalists that they look up to in the media. What channels, stations do they watch to see some news? So those are important things that they do. And just to say, in our program, we prepare our students for a career in multimedia broadcasting and so forth. They learn programs like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere. So if they have already experienced that and they kind of maybe have dabbled a little bit in editing, they could tell us what kind of program they use. The ones that we use is Adobe Premiere, but it doesn't have to be that one if they have another one, but they could tell us a little bit about that. That does help. It doesn't mean that we require that in order to be accepted, but it does kind of help in the conversation. Another thing is After Effects. Those are the other software that they learn. They learn how to create stories and write stories. So we basically teach them how to be in front of the camera as well as being behind the camera. Sometimes you have students that just like the technical aspects of it. For example, they may like being a camera person or being a reporter or an editor or a graphic designer. So those are the things, or an audio person. Those are things that are behind the scenes, and they may enjoy that. And that doesn't mean that we put them to those jobs. But there's some that want to be in front of the camera as anchors or reporters and so forth, and writers. That basically is behind the camera. So those are the areas that they can excel in, and they can tell us along with their interview what is the area that they like the most, to do. If they're multifaceted, where they like to be in front of the camera and behind the camera, that's excellent. That's even better, because that way, we have more options for them. But, those are some of the tips that I would say to elaborate when you're in the interview. Tell them to come prepared with topics that they would like to discuss and questions that they may ask to us about the program. I don't know, what kind of cameras do you guys use? That always kind of it's a good interview when they do that, because it shows us that they did a little bit of homework before that. So that's basically it. They can also bring some things that they've done. We need to, if they bring it on a USB, we get to keep the USB. We can't return it, only because, it's just logistics. It's a little bit difficult to get back to you and get the USBs back. But they can make a copy. If they have samples of their writing, they can make copies of that and leave it with us. So those are kind of the things that they can bring. And if they have some projects that they've done, maybe they have a YouTube channel. A lot of the students nowadays, they have a YouTube channel where they just talk about something that they're into in their hobbies. It could be, music, dance, whatever, and they decided to do a YouTube channel. So if they give us that link on the USB, that would be great also. That would be something that, we would look at. So that's pretty much about it. If you have any questions, just go ahead and write it on the chat, and I'll answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. Very insightful. Okay, so the photo audition. This one's always like The most questions I get is for the photo audition. How exactly do you audition for photography? Well, I'm about to tell you. There are two parts to the photo audition. The first is a portfolio. We ask the students present a collection of 8 to 12 photographs and or artworks. We understand that sometimes students' previous experiences may be in a traditional art class. That's fine. We'll take a look at that as well. Students auditioning via Zoom will submit their portfolios digitally. We'll send you a link and you'll have places where you can upload your portfolio pieces. And if you're auditioning in person, you should bring printed portfolios. So if you're presenting photography, you can print your photos out so that we can page through them. And if you have artworks, of course, just bring the actual artworks with you for your portfolio portion. Then there is the performance component of this audition. We require you to photograph objects in a unique still life using proper lighting, point of view, and camera settings. The objects are going to have different themes. You're going to be working with a backdrop. All of these items are provided to the students that audition in person. The students who are auditioning virtually will receive an email giving an outline of the types of things they should have handy in order to be prepared for their audition. There is also an interview component for the photography audition as well. And since we have our photo teacher on, I'm going to invite Mr. Lopez to give some helpful tips and hints for the photography audition.
Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you all so much. Wow, that makes my forehead look really big. Look at that lens distortion on that. Woo. Okay, so my name is Mr. Lopez. Thank you all for coming to our audition workshop. And I am the leader of the Magnet photography program. I'm also in charge of another program, which is why I kind of fumbled there. So for the photography audition specifically, you don't need to know how to draw. I kind of went ahead and changed the audition process a little bit for photography because it used to be a little bit closer tied to the fine art audition and also the commercial art audition. So the photography audition, I'm just basically looking for curiosity, visual acuity. I'm looking for your best pictures, and I want to know why you like certain pictures that you're showing in your portfolio. So I would say in the photography audition, have a little bit of something to say about each of your pictures, and make sure that the pictures are a little bit varied in terms of the subject matter that you're photographing. Play around with lighting, play around with your subject matter. Try to give me a range of different types of photographs, things that are close-ups, moving objects, outdoor photography, landscapes, cityscapes. Try to play around with abstraction. There's a lot of different ways that you can experiment with a camera. You don't need a fancy camera. You don't need to bring a camera to the audition either. That will be provided for you. You don't need a sketchbook either, but if you do have a sketchbook, that's fine. I'm basically looking for your ability to see and how you kind of compose the image and your thinking process behind each photograph. So if you have any questions that you can't think of right now, you can go ahead and shoot me an email. My email's right there. So basically come the day of the audition, ready to talk about your pictures and ready to take some pictures. I'm gonna give you a camera that day, and I'm gonna give you instructions. If those of you that are doing a Zoom audition, make sure that you have a camera with you, and you're gonna be uploading the pictures via, I think it's a SlideShare or via Google Doc that day. So just come ready to talk about your pictures and also to take some more pictures.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you.
All right. So now the last two programs we're going to talk about, we gang them up together because they actually share the audition. They are the exact same audition for graphic design and illustration and fine art. And those students are actually scheduled together. So if you're in the classroom auditioning, you might be a fine art student sitting next to an illustration candidate. I mean, Just wanted to kind of share that so that you're not worried about what the specifics would be for that. So for these students, we ask that they present a portfolio of 8 to 10 completed artworks and a selection of pages from a recent or current sketchbook. I say a selection of pages because the students auditioning via Zoom are going to have to kind of pick their favorite sketchbook pages to upload. But the students who are coming in person, please bring your most current sketchbook. We would love to look at it. It tells us a lot about what you like to do, what your interests are, what you notice in the world, right? So you would present your physical artworks and your physical sketchbook if you're auditioning in person, and then you would upload images if you are auditioning via Zoom. Those students are also going to do a performance. What do you mean by a performance? You're going to be drawing as part of your audition, so be prepared to actually create drawings. This is part of the reason why that audition is so long. We have 3 timed drawings that the students complete live during the audition. If you're coming to campus to audition in the classroom studio, we're providing you with all the materials you need to do your audition. And if you're auditioning at home, we'll send you a list of the materials that you're going to need to have handy in order to do your audition via Zoom. Okay, those art supplies are going to need to be available for you. What exactly are you going to be drawing? Well, everything is from observation. You're going to be asked to look at things around you, and you're going to be giving specific instructions on what concepts to focus on as you do those drawings. So my best advice and helpful tip for the fine art and graphic design and illustration students is start filling your sketchbook by practicing drawing from life. Take off your shoe, draw your shoe. Open your closet, draw the contents of your closet. Look in a mirror, draw yourself from a mirror. Try to get into the habit and become comfortable drawing by looking at real things, not photographs of things.
By drawing from direct observation, it's just going to help you prepare for drawing from direct observation the day of your audition. Okay. Right. So each of those 3 drawings, we're going to be basically asking that you work with a different type of material. Okay. So one of the drawings is going to emphasize line and mark making. The other one's going to emphasize value, tone, and shading, kind of like separating the lights and the darks of whatever's in front of you. And then the last drawing is going to give you a chance for more of a personal, self-expressive narrative using color. But all 3 of those drawings, you need to be looking directly at an object versus looking at a photograph. So that's why Ms. Hunter is emphasizing drawing from observation. If your portfolio is more stylized and maybe based on either cartooning or an anime style that you're working on, that's totally fine. Because we do want to see the work that you're most proud of, because that's going to create a better dialogue during the audition interview, because we're going to talk about your portfolio a little bit. But the day of the audition, you will be asked to draw from direct observation. So it's a good thing to practice, and that when you're looking at an object, you're able to kind of tell the 3-dimensionality of that object, which is why it's such a powerful way for us to tell your skill level as it relates to drawing and hand-eye coordination. I just wanted to plug that in for you guys.
There was a good question asked in the chat about how many minutes do they have for each of the drawings? I wrote 20 minutes for each drawing, but there is one that's a little bit shorter just because 20 minutes is way too long.
It's way too long for a line drawing.
For the line drawing. I think we shortened that down to 10 minutes, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So the line drawing, which is just like a fine point marker, drawing without any shading of any kind, just like using that continuous
just outlines and contours and stuff like that.
That one's a 10-minute drawing. The shaded drawing and the one in color, those are 20 minutes each. Okay. Someone had asked about how do I know if my appointment is virtual or in person? So I'm going to quickly just kind of go back to that slide that I had. Kind of page backwards through this real quick. Okay, so your audition appointment, you're going to be able to see what appointment you have if you log back into your Magnet application. you should have also received an appointment confirmation email from the Magnet application system, because as I see people registering for appointments, I click confirm and that generates an email. So take a look. You might want to take a screenshot of this page because this is the easiest way to figure out whether you need to come to our school or log into Zoom, right? You are going to receive emails in advance of your appointments. I'm going to definitely give you more than a week's notice of what you need to do, when and where you need to be, and how to access it, okay? But on the left here in gray is the list of virtual appointments and which strands are involved with that. And then on the right, we have our in-person appointments. So that's the easiest way to figure out which one. For the graphic design audition, is okay to bring school classroom artworks? Yes, of course. If that's the artwork that you've made and your portfolio is comprised of things that you've made in art class and you're proud of it, please do bring it. Absolutely. And then are parents allowed in the audition? No. Normally, we ask parents to wait for their children in the auditorium. If you're auditioning in person, of course. We have the parents sit in the auditorium and then we walk the groups of students to the various classrooms where they will be auditioning. And then we'll bring your babies back to you, I promise. The times are the same for the in-person auditions as far as the length of the appointment, I suppose you mean there? Yes, so you will have an on-screen timer in the case of the visual arts strands, letting you know how long you have to finish that drawing. And in person, you'll have that same timer up on the screen, just so that we try to approximate the experience as closely as possible, just for the sake of fairness, right? So everyone has a similar audition experience and can be fairly scored. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to where I was over here. Just real quick. Upcoming events. We've had a few events in the recent past, including today's event. Again, thank you for logging in. But I did want to let you guys know we are having a couple of in-person tours taking place December 14th or January 11th. December 14th is next Tuesday. I do recognize some names of the people logged in here today from that from that tour date registration sheet. So thank you. I look forward to meeting you guys. But if you didn't know we were offering in-person tours and you are interested, you can either scan the QR code on screen or you can visit our school website. There is a page dedicated to registering for tours and events. We are also offering recordings of our previous virtual tours. We uploaded those to YouTube and we posted them on the same page where you would register for the in-person tour. You can also just view a virtual tour if you'd like to hear a little bit more about the awesome stuff our school has to offer. About how long for multimedia broadcasting audition. I schedule those in 30-minute intervals and it's 5 students at a time. So I would say at most it's going to be 30 minutes and it might be a little less. It just sort of depends on how chatty the given group of students are feeling. Sometimes they're, all 5 are done in 15 minutes and sometimes they go a little over the 30.
Yeah, it also depends on how long they take to do the written assignment.
Oh, that's right.
That's probably what takes the longest. The interview is maybe, 10 minutes, but the other part, the written part, is where they're going to take maybe 20 minutes or so.
Right. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to leave on screen is just some contact information. Again, my name is Lizzie Hunter, the school's lead magnet teacher, and I'm also the magnet fine art teacher for our school's program. My email address is on screen there, lizhunter@dadeschools.net. And that's our website, southmiamiseniorhigh.org. If you haven't gone on there yet, I definitely encourage you to click around and take a look. We've got lots of examples of student work on there. We've got some nifty videos giving program overviews. Just a great home base to explore our school's offerings. And then if you haven't already done so, please follow us on social media. I feel like seeing what schools post on their social media gives you a really good sense of what that school's culture is like, and what it's like to be, part of our Cobra family, as we like to say. So give us a follow, SMSH Cobras, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And our dual enrollment programs for college credits. Yes, we do offer dual enrollment programs at our school. In fact, I am one of the dual enrollment professors. So the visual arts students at our school oftentimes take 2 levels of dual enrollment studio art classes with me, along with advanced placement art classes as well. So we do have, as we have our programs that focus on our various strands, but within those programs, we offer a really nice assortment of experiences and advanced academics for the students as well. That's why I was encouraging everyone, if you would join us on a tour or view one of the virtual tours, it'll give you a really nice sense of what our school has to offer. I'm scheduling my audition time with anatomy, accidentally picked the wrong time. Okay. Anyone wishing to reschedule an audition? Maybe you saw the previous slide I just showed and you're like, I think I'd rather audition in person, and you'd like to change it. I'm able to change it for you. So take note of that email address. Just go ahead and send me an email and let me know what date or time you would prefer. And if there is space, I can definitely move your audition appointment around for you. How many hours do they spend in the arts courses versus academic classes? Okay, so our programs, we have an 8-period schedule in our school, and the Magnet students take a minimum of 2 of their classes as Magnet. So in a given day, we have periods that are an hour and a half long each. So for example, a fine art student will have an hour and a half of fine art every day because they have it for 2 periods. So they'll have that class on their schedule every day. Some students oftentimes take more than the required 2 just because they really want to take advantage of other course offerings and dive in. Do you need a resume for the audition? So the only strand that specified a resume was the music, the band audition. So if you are auditioning for anything other than band, you do not need a resume. But the band director likes to have those resumes because it helps her remember who's who and what they play, just because she's trying to assemble a well-balanced musical group. So she does ask for resumes, but everyone else, we're asking for portfolios and interviews. These are all great questions. Okay, any last questions before I end this session? What time does school start and end? Okay, so we follow the typical high school hours for Dade County Public Schools. Our school day starts at 7:20 and we dismiss at 2:20. If I choose a virtual audition for fine art, will you select the fine art theme? I don't understand what you mean by that. So for fine art virtual audition, we still give you the instructions for the 3 timed drawings, if that's what you mean. It's the same exact instructions, whether you're auditioning in person or online. Some of the questions in the interview for fine arts. Mr. Lopez, would you like to share some of the questions that we asked the students for the visual arts strands? Or not? Okay, I'll go. I wanted to give him a chance to speak. So,
what was that?
Hey, so I was. Someone asked about the what type of questions we asked the students for the illustration and.
That's a great question. So, the questions that we ask are, have you ever taken an art class before? What's your prior art experience? We also ask if you like to work alone, you like to collaborate with other people. We kind of want to know what your academic standing is. So I like to have an idea of whether, what the student's favorite subject is besides art. We're assuming art is the favorite subject, right? So I also, just to kind of get to know where else academically they enjoy school the most. And then we also ask what you want to be when you grow up. So if you have a career goal in mind, or, you know, several career goals, we also ask that question. And the last question we ask is usually how much time do you dedicate to art making, like per week or per day? Those are the solid 5 questions that we definitely ask during the interview.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. I just want to give another voice a chance. Mr. Diaz, I have a question sent directly here. What do they ask for the multimedia broadcasting questions in the interview? I know you described some of them earlier, but if you could just give us a quick rundown.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure I understand.
Hear me there?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, one of the questions is if we can only get one student into the program, why would it be yourself? Another question that we ask is, you know, what are some of the things that you do in your free time, your hobby, your pastime? What do you do? Do you watch any newscasts or any news-related shows on TV? If you do, then, you know, who's your favorite anchor or reporter or journalist? Another thing that we ask is, have you had any prior experience in editing or videotaping something, or something you've done on YouTube? So those are some of the things. We also ask, do you like to work together? Do you like to collaborate? Do you like to work alone? That kind of thing. So, you know, those are the things. What area do you like the most? Do you like in front of the camera or behind the camera? And then we ask them to read a little passage that we have that was part of the assignment, as if they were a reporter, basically. So as if they were an anchor or reporter, they get to read it. That may not be their area. Maybe they like camera work and stuff. So in that case, you know, they can bring something that they've filmed, or a link to a video that they've done. And it's not something that they had to have already prior. They could work on something now over the winter or Christmas break. They can basically come up with like a mock type of report, maybe in front of somewhere reporting about something. And then, like, if it was a live shot, they can record that, bring it on a USB or put it on YouTube and give us the link, which is probably the best. Those things like that. So yeah, those are some of the questions that we ask.
Great, thank you. There was also
Before I forget, I'm so sorry for interrupting. Before I forget, if you're auditioning for Magnet Photography and you don't have your photographs printed, you can show them to me on your smartphone device. You could also show me the pictures on a flash drive. I prefer seeing them printed, just because there's something kind of nice about looking through a portfolio, you know, as an experience. But if you are not able to print your pictures for the day of the audition, my second choice is a USB drive, so that I could actually see them larger on a computer monitor, and you'll get that USB drive right back the same day of the audition. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that to Magnet Photography. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to say, someone asked a great question about, like, when do we find out whether we're accepted or not? That's something that's through the district. The Magnet application system generates a Magnet results email, and that goes out March 15th. And schools are forbidden, I guess is the best way to say, from sharing results in advance. So all schools will share, not all schools, the Magnet division will share the results for us. And so if you apply to 5 schools, it'll list the 5 schools, and yes, no, yes, no, yes, 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 or whatever the results are, will come in one communication via email. And that's the other thing. Make sure that the email address you have on file with the Magnet application is a good email address, because you're going to get all of the important communications about auditions or how to register, what have you, through that email address. So please verify that that is correct and that you are checking those messages. Sometimes they go to spam too, so check your spam folders. If we're doing the photography interview virtually, do we send the pictures via email or during the interview? So the photography portfolio in advance, you'll receive a link for where to submit that. And then the actual photos that you take during the audition, as part of the audition for the virtual students, we explain how to send it to us. I think in the past we did an email. But
Yeah, it was an email attachment. That was the easiest way to kind of give them an exit ticket to start their interview during the Zoom audition. Yes.
Right. Okay, great. So we're getting lots of thank yous. I think that's my cue to end the session. Again, feel free to contact me if you come up with any other questions. Maybe something that hits you the moment you hit end session. I'm always here and I'm happy to help. Okay. So wishing
Thank you all
everyone
so much.
a great night. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight.
Good luck. Bye, everyone. Peace.